After my surgery, I couldn't lift anything for 6 weeks. My in-laws called me lazy and said I was faking recovery. They gave my kids chores meant for adults and posted online about raising weak men. So, I printed the post and took it to court. I had spinal surgery last year, Apple Valley, Minnesota, January. Coldest damn winter we'd had in a decade. I'd been in pain for years, working construction, and ignoring the signs until I couldn't anymore. My lower back felt like it had glass in it. I was limping at the end of every shift, taking ibuprofen like candy just to get through the day. I finally went to a specialist, and they said I needed a microdiscectomy and spinal decompression. I pushed through the holidays and scheduled the surgery for early January. My wife and I planned everything. We've been married 14 years. Not perfect, but solid. She's a dental assistant, works hard, loves our boys, 13 and 10. She took 2 weeks off work to help me after surgery, then planned to go back part-time while I rested. We both thought we had it covered. Then her parents offered to stay to help. That's what they said. Help. From the moment they walked through the door, I knew it was going to be a problem. Stan and Eileen, both in their 70s, retired, loud as hell, stuck in the past. Stan's the kind of guy who calls every man younger than him soft, and Eileen just repeats everything he says like a parrot in a cardigan. I was still in a back brace, barely able to stand up straight. Doctor told me, no lifting more than 10 pounds. No bending, no twisting. Rest is not optional, it's mandatory. I followed every instruction. I wanted to heal. I wanted to get back to work and back to normal. But Stan thought I was faking. On day 2, I was in the living room recliner trying to get up and go to the bathroom. I was slow, had to use my arms to push myself upright. Stan walked past and muttered, "Guess some people don't know what real pain is." I asked him what that was supposed to mean. He just smiled and said, "Just saying." It only got worse from there. Every time I sat down to rest, he had something to say. If this was my house, we'd get a man to do the work. When I had knee surgery, I was splitting firewood the next day. Boys learn from their fathers. Hope yours don't learn laziness. I told my wife. She said, "Ignore him. He's just old-fashioned." But they didn't just talk. They acted. They started making my sons do everything, and I mean everything. At first, it was little things. Take out the trash. Fine. Wash the dishes. Sure. But it kept growing. They told my 13-year-old to mow the lawn in February. Yes, February. He slipped twice on the icy slope behind our house. Then they made my 10-year-old carry 2 40-pound salt bags for the water softener. I heard him crying in the mudroom because his arms hurt. Eileen just said, "That's how men are built." Through discomfort, Stan handed my older son a ladder and told him to clean the gutters. My wife found out and lost it. But instead of apologizing, Stan said, "I'm building character, something their father isn't doing." I was losing it. I tried to talk to them calmly, told them this wasn't their place. Stan told me if I had a problem, I could get off my ass and do it myself. My wife tried to mediate. She asked them to scale it back. They said, "We're just helping." It was like a gaslight circus. Then I saw the Facebook post. Eileen posted a picture of the boys dragging a wheelbarrow full of gravel in our backyard. My 10-year-old's face was red. He looked exhausted. The caption? "Teaching these soft boys what real work looks like. Their dad is on the couch pretending he's hurt. Raising weak men ruins the world." My hands were shaking when I saw it. Comments from their church friends and old high school acquaintances. "Good for you. Too many men today are cowards. Hard work never killed anyone." She made it public. Tagged her name, tagged the town. That was the moment something broke in me. Not just anger, shame. Public shame. My kids were in that photo. My reputation, my dignity, trashed for likes by the people who were supposed to support us. I printed every single screenshot. I took notes. I scheduled an appointment with my surgeon. Got a full written statement. Procedure details, recovery expectations, restrictions. Then I called an attorney I used to work with on a work comp case. I told him everything. He said this could qualify as defamation and possibly endangerment, depending on how far they pushed your kids. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about protecting my sons from being used to prove a toxic point. I wasn't just angry. I was ready to fight. After I spoke to the lawyer, I didn't tell anyone right away. I wanted to see how far Stan and Eileen would go if they thought I wasn't going to fight back. Turns out, a lot farther. 2 days later, Stan stood in the hallway yelling at my 13-year-old because he refused to move a stack of firewood by himself. My son said his back hurt. Stan told him pain was just weakness trying to win. I came out of my bedroom, still wearing the brace, and said, "That's enough. He's a kid, not your soldier." Stan stepped toward me and actually puffed out his chest. "Then maybe you should start acting like a father instead of a patient." My wife stood between us. She told him to go cool off. He slammed the door on his way out and didn't come back in until dinner. That night, I emailed my lawyer every detail I could remember, including a new voice memo I secretly recorded of Stan yelling. I didn't know if it was legal to record him in Minnesota without his knowledge, but my lawyer said since it was my home and I was part of the conversation, I was in the clear. The lawyer told me to keep documenting. So I did. Every time they pushed the boys too far, I logged it. When they made my 10-year-old scrub the kitchen floor with a sponge and no gloves, I took a photo of his red, cracked hands. When they had my 13-year-old dig out a snow-packed drainage ditch with a shovel, I filmed it from the upstairs window. Then came the breaking point. Eileen posted another photo on Facebook. This time it was a shot of me in my recliner, sleeping, with the back brace showing under my hoodie. She had snuck the photo from the hallway. The caption? "What a man looks like in 2024. Meanwhile, the boys are shoveling snow like real workers. So tired of this generation." That was it. That was the moment I snapped. I printed the photo and handed it to my lawyer. He raised his eyebrows and said, "They just handed you the match and poured the gasoline. We filed a restraining order request and a cease and desist for defamation. I also filed a motion for temporary guardianship suspension, arguing that they were unfit to be in a caretaking role around my sons." My wife was stunned. She hadn't seen the new post yet. When I showed it to her, she cried. She actually cried. "I didn't know they hated you like this," she said. "I thought they were just overbearing." I told her it was past overbearing. It was abusive, and it was about to be public. When the paperwork was delivered to her parents, Stan lost his mind. He packed their bags and left the same day. But not before throwing every insult he could think of at me. "Coward, faker, leech." Said he'd see me in court. Good. That's exactly where I wanted him. But the fallout didn't stop there. The post had been public long enough that someone from our church saw it. Then someone from my son's school. Word started spreading that something happened in our house. My wife's cousin even messaged her saying, "I had no idea he was that kind of guy." The damage wasn't just emotional now. It was reputational. My kids started getting weird looks at school. One teacher even asked my older son if things were okay at home. It made me sick, but the court date was set. And I had a folder 2 inches thick, with proof. I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to expose them. 2 weeks before the court date, we got a call from my wife's older sister, Denise. We hadn't spoken to her in months. Not since her son got married, and they didn't invite us because Stan doesn't like drama. She sounded rattled. "You need to know something," she said. "Dad's telling people you threatened him, that you screamed at him and tried to get the kids to lie." I almost dropped the phone. She went on, "He's calling up relatives, people from church, saying you're using the court to cover up abuse. Says you made up the surgery thing to avoid working." I didn't even know what to say. This man, who watched me walk around in a back brace, who saw the medication bottles, who stood in the hallway calling me lazy, was now flipping the story and trying to turn the family against me. I called my lawyer right away. He said, "It's textbook manipulation. The goal is to taint the well before the hearing." We gathered more evidence. I requested a copy of my full medical records from the hospital. Every note, Every imaging result, every post-op instruction. My surgeon even wrote a second statement after I explained what was happening. He included specific language. Patient was medically restricted from lifting more than 10 pounds due to lumbar spine surgery. Failure to comply would risk permanent injury. My wife also submitted a statement. And reluctantly, Denise did too, after seeing the screenshots of her parents' posts and hearing her nephew cry on speakerphone about Papa making him shovel snow at night. But then Stan played another card. He hired a lawyer. Not some local guy either. A real family law pitbull from St. Paul. Suddenly, I wasn't just defending against slander. I was in a legal brawl. Their defense was outrageous. They claimed I was mentally unstable, that my perceived back pain was psychological, and that I'd fabricated screenshots. They even accused my wife of coercion, saying she was only supporting me to avoid marital fallout. Then came the subpoena. Stan wanted access to my work records. He claimed I had faked the injury to stay home and avoid financial obligations. He was trying to paint me as a fraud, despite the fact that I had surgical scars and multiple MRIs to prove otherwise. The court ordered mediation before the hearing. At mediation, Stan sat across from me and smirked the entire time. Eileen wouldn't even look at me. She just kept her arms folded and whispered to their attorney. At one point, Stan leaned forward and said, "You're doing all this for attention. You're weak. That's your disease." I didn't answer him. I just handed another printed copy of their Facebook post to the mediator. Her face went pale when she read it. After that, things shifted. The mediator told the court there was sufficient cause for emotional harm and reputational damage to the petitioner. We didn't settle. We went to full hearing. That's when something unexpected happened. The judge, middle-aged, stern, not easily impressed, asked Stan one simple question. Did you, or did you not post publicly that your son-in-law was faking a medical recovery?
Stan shrugged.
I said what I saw. The judge nodded slowly. And what medical training do you have?
Stan stammered.
I served in Vietnam. I know real injury when I see it. The courtroom was silent. You could feel the tension in the air. Then the judge looked directly at him and said, "Your experience does not make you qualified to override licensed medical professionals, nor does it give you the right to publicly attack someone's character while endangering their children." From that moment on, the tide turned. After the judge shut Stan down in court, something shifted. His confidence cracked for the first time. I saw it in the way he blinked too fast, like he couldn't believe this was happening. But it was happening. My lawyer walked the court through everything. We had timelines, photos, videos, screenshots, my medical history, the post-surgical restrictions, my voice recording of Stan barking orders, even my son's written statement which said, in his own words, "Papa made me do heavy work even when I said it hurt. He said I was acting like my dad." The judge took it all in, page by page. She asked my wife if she had felt pressured to support my claims. My wife said no, and added that she felt ashamed for not stepping in sooner. Then Stan's lawyer made a final push. He tried to argue that this entire issue was a family misunderstanding blown out of proportion by emotion and injury. He called it a miscommunication. That word lit something in me. Miscommunication? I'd spent weeks watching my kids carry more than they should have, hearing my manhood questioned daily, seeing my name dragged online, and he wanted to write it off as a miscommunication? I asked for the chance to speak. The judge allowed it. I looked straight at Stan and said, "You didn't help. You didn't protect. You humiliated me. And worse, you used my kids to prove a point you had no right to make. You made my 10-year-old carry 40 pounds of salt to shame me. You took a photo of me sleeping in pain and posted it like a trophy." He looked away. Then I turned to the judge and said, "If he can't be held accountable for this, then what are we teaching my sons? That this is okay? That you can hurt people and hide behind family?" She nodded, and then adjourned for the day, decision pending. Outside the courtroom, Stan and Eileen didn't say a word. They walked right past us. but I could see it. The fear. Not just of losing in court, but of being exposed. Because now it wasn't just me fighting back, it was public. That week, the Facebook post came back to bite them harder. Someone had reported it. I didn't know who, but it got flagged for harassment. Their account was locked for a few days. Then people from their church started reaching out. Not to support them, to ask questions. One woman messaged my wife saying, "I had no idea what was really going on. I'm so sorry I commented on that post." Their social circles started crumbling. And then the boys' school called. They'd conducted a quiet check-in with my older son. Based on what he shared, they were considering reporting Stan's actions to child services. I didn't even know they could do that for extended family. When I told the lawyer, he said, "This just moved from a civil matter to possible CPS review. If it escalates, they could face actual investigation." It was like a domino falling. The more we pushed, the more their story unraveled. They thought they could shame me in silence. But they had no idea who they were messing with. 2 weeks after court, we got the judge's written ruling. She granted a protective injunction. Stan and Eileen were officially barred from having unsupervised contact with our kids for a year. Any breach would result in criminal charges. She also upheld the cease and desist for online harassment and ruled in favor of defamation regarding the Facebook posts. But that wasn't all. She wrote that the actions taken by the respondents show a reckless disregard for the petitioner's medical condition and a willful effort to undermine his role as a parent. Her final note recommended that we pursue civil damages if we wished. My lawyer smiled when he read that part. Now, it's not just about protecting your family, it's about making them pay. We filed the civil suit 2 days later. Emotional distress. Reputational harm. My lost freelance income while I dealt with the fallout. The cost of additional child supervision. Legal fees. When they got served, they tried to settle quietly, offering $5,000 and a mutual agreement to walk away. I declined. My lawyer countered with $42,000, just enough to match what they'd cost us in actual damages. Not a penny more, not a penny less. They refused. So we took it to court again. By now, the in-laws had no more friends backing them. Stan's brother, who originally took their side, showed up in court and told the judge, "I've known him 50 years. I didn't realize how cruel he had become." Even Eileen cracked on the stand. When asked if she believed she had done anything wrong by posting that photo of me, she started to cry. Not for me, for herself. "I didn't know it would come to this," she said. The judge ruled in our favor. Full damages. No appeal. I used every cent of that settlement wisely. Paid off the remainder of our car loan. Bought my boys new school clothes. Put the rest in savings. But my real revenge wasn't the money. It was what happened next. We sent a formal letter to their church with documentation attached. Their posts. The screenshots. The court ruling. We didn't ask them to do anything specific. We just gave them the truth. A month later, Stan and Eileen were quietly asked to step away from their volunteer roles. Word got around. People distanced themselves. Invitations stopped coming. My wife's cousin texted us a photo from a church bulletin. The community spotlight section, where Stan's name used to be, was blank. My kids? Happier now. They talk about their grandpa less. My younger son says, "I like that our house is quieter." My older one is in therapy, something I wish I'd pushed for sooner. He told the therapist, "My dad stood up for us. He didn't let it go." As for me, I healed. The pain in my back is manageable now. I'm back on light duty, working part-time. I'm stronger, not just physically, but in ways I didn't know I needed to be. I've never been more certain of who I am as a man, as a father, as a husband. Stan tried to humiliate me, but he only exposed himself. And when the dust settled, I wasn't the one who lost everything.
He was.